Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Diana, for the introduction and welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here and attending our resume and cover letter 101 workshop. As Diana mentioned, my name is Gina. I am one of the talent acquisition managers at Enterprise Mobility. I do all things hiring and recruiting here at Enterprise. I oversee from the Central Coast all the way up to North LA area, San Fernando Valley area as well. I've been with the company about 5 years, so I am the expert here. I do all things, like I said, recruiting, hiring. So I'm excited to talk to you all about resume and cover letters. Now, during the workshop, we hope to cover the following items. We're going to walk through what we hope you will leave with during this presentation. So some learning outcomes. We'll walk through the basic structure of both the resume and cover letter and emphasize the importance of tailoring and how to do so. And then we'll finish with a couple of activities to wrap up our time together. All right, so during this workshop, we hope that all participants will walk away with the understanding of the basic framework for resume and cover letter formatting, including sections to add and structure to follow. We also hope that participants will walk away from this workshop with 1 or 2 accomplishment statements that they would like to add for their resume. Now, before we begin explaining the formatting and structure of resume and cover letter writing, we'd like to share how at UC Santa Barbara, Career Services can support you in the process beyond the workshop. There's 3 different ways of providing feedback for your document writing. First, you can go online at any time and upload your documents. So any resumes, cover letters, or application essays to their document review system, and someone from the office will provide some feedback within about 3 business days. So second, there is an AI software called Resume AI that emulates applicant tracking systems and can provide instant feedback on how ATS readable your resume is. Now, lastly, we offer resume and cover letter review appointments. If you'd like to meet with a counselor or someone on the team to receive any feedback on your resume, like in a lifetime, you can schedule some appointments and you can book that from whether it be in person or online via Zoom. And that can also be made via the Handshake app. So now, let's start with a job posting. So it's a quick activity, so take a few minutes to review the job posting. This is a real on-campus job posting for a rec coordinator position. So what are some key words that stand out to you guys here on this job posting? If you want to share, unmute yourself, or maybe drop some couple things in the chat.
Bachelor's degree.
Bachelor's degree, yeah, that's important. Anything else?
In the chat, they're saying managing and coordinating and attention to detail.
Yeah, absolutely. All of those are correct. So getting into a couple of key buzzwords, right? So for the job posting we just looked at, we've now discovered a couple of series of skills and experiences that we believe the employer is looking for. So these are what we call key buzzwords. So the key buzzwords from the job description include what you all kind of mentioned, right? Event coordination, communication, collaboration, customer services, the degree in kinesiology, and sports management. So key buzzwords are going to be really important for your document passing applicant tracking system. So we'll return back to this activity later on in the presentation, but again, keeping these buzzwords in mind. So as you can all see here, this is an example of a full resume. So Greta's resume mainly consists of their contact information, their education, and their experience. However, there are many additional sections that you can add to your resume, such as a membership section where you list the campus or professional organizations that you are a member of. So if you guys want to kind of briefly take a look and review the resume, anyone have any feedback here for Greta? Anyone want to share? No? Okay. Well, I think that maybe we can add a little bit of more categories to really align with the job posting, right? So we'll kind of get into that here. Now, tailoring and adding key buzzwords will allow your documents to pass the ATS system. So the application tracking systems often scan for particular buzzwords, like we mentioned. So tailoring not only will help in passing the systems, but will also allow you to create a more cohesive message that relates to the employer and role. So as we dive into the experience section of the resume, let's keep these buzzwords in mind, those that we just reviewed. Now, we often think that only paid experience is a good experience. However, oftentimes your unpaid experience provides relevant skills to what you are applying for next. So some different types of experience can include volunteering, part-time jobs, class projects, sports activities, memberships on campus, or organizations, research, and internships. So you may emphasize different skills depending on the experience, but we recommend reviewing the resumes page under the Get Hired section on the website, on your careers website, which has examples of how to best write about specific types of experience. Now, there are even other types of experiences not included here, but to mention like study abroad, personal projects, any conferences or workshops that you've attended that are going to align with the position that you're interested in or applying for. Now, to organize your experience on your resume, that first off, you want to follow a reverse chronological timeline. So that means your most recent experience is what's going to be first listed on your resume. Now, to format your experience, you'll need to include your position title, your employer or organization name, the location and city and the state, and then the dates in which you work there. So you only need to write the month and year in which you worked. So make sure to align the dates on the right-hand side of the page. So any questions on there? Awesome. All right, so kind of going back to the key buzzwords that we talked about earlier. So you're still going to need them. So you want to make sure you use those key buzzwords and start incorporating them throughout the experience section. So see where you can add or replace action verbs on your existing accomplishment statements with the same verbiage and jargon as the job description. In addition, also notice how they created separate experience sections with relevant titles to tailor their resume to the job posting. So as you can see, they added the recreational programming experience and added those buzzwords. So it's going to be really important in order to stand out and pass the ATS system. All right, so now we'll provide you with a few minutes to write your own accomplishment statement. So we suggest using the formula, the strong action verb plus the objective. So what did you do? And then the results. So what happened or for what purpose? So here's an example of one that you can add onto your resume. Right, organized and led weekly intramural tournaments for over 150 students, resulting in a 40% increase in student engagement and repeat participation. So does any of you want to put some stuff in the chat? So give some examples of what maybe we can add onto a resume. Or if anyone wants to unmute themselves, anyone brave enough?
Students, this is a great time to ask questions of Gina. She's got some good information here.
All right. Okay. That's okay. We'll take a look at some other examples. Let me share here.
I've got a couple here. Do you see them, Gina?
Oh, okay. I can't. No, if you can maybe.
Okay. Somebody said, Emily said, redirected surplus fruit to pantries, saving 7,000 gallons of water and preventing 0.07 tons of carbon. Bravo. That's awesome.
Awesome.
Catherine says, planned and coordinated residence hall events surrounded health and wellness with over 60 attendees. That's Okay, let me reread that. Planning
Perfect.
coordinated residence hall events surrounded health wellness with over 60 attendees. That's awesome.
Okay, awesome.
One last one. Vivian says
Uh-huh.
she provided one-on-one academic support to an eighth grade student, improving grades from D's to A's throughout the year. Again.
Perfect. Absolutely. So that, yeah, no, beautifully done. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, you want to use this formula. It's really going to help you structure your resume. And in turn, this is kind of what you use and when you interview, kind of using that STAR method, talking about, the results and putting some numbers in there as well. So thank you. Now, so kind of transitioning to a cover letter. A cover letter also provides the opportunity to show a personal connection to the position or the company you're applying to. So within a cover letter, you can discuss why you were interested in applying to the role, why you want to work for that organization, or if you have a contact within the organization that maybe you can reference, here's going to be a perfect way to kind of implement that. If you've had any conversations, whether it be on LinkedIn or Handshake, anyone that you've maybe spoken to within the company. And then cover letters are no more than about 3/4 to a page long. Just because you have limited space, it's best to choose at least 2 to 3 skills or experiences to talk about rather than reviewing everything on your resume. So again, connect each skill or experience to the specific position that you're applying to. And then I did want to say, as a talent acquisition manager, I do review resumes and cover letters every single day. So make sure, I think one of the biggest mistakes you can make is that if you are going to be applying to a specific employer, make sure you change the name of the employer. It happens pretty often where I receive a cover letter and it is to a completely different company. So make sure you keep an eye out for that. That's going to be really important. Attention to detail. Make sure you're not just uploading any cover letter or resume to the wrong job posting. All right. So there are a few main sections to include in your cover letter, and they're the following here. So the header, make sure that's going to be the same as your resume. So your first and last name, the city and state, phone number, and email. So a lot of students prefer to use their personal email, especially if you're in that last year, you're, maybe graduating soon. You can use the personal email if you may lose access to it. I know some students do, some don't. But if you want to keep your school email, that is perfectly fine as well. Just make sure that you are constantly reviewing that so you're not missing any important emails. And then include the date. So just exactly how it is on there. So the month, day, the year format, and make sure that it's aligned to the left. And then you want to put your the address of the company, and then make sure you always include the salutation. So dear hiring manager, and it's best if you can, make sure you know who the hiring manager is so that it can be personalized. So this is a perfect example here. Anyone have any questions on this? Oh, I think there's the chat. Okay.
Don't see anything.
Nope. Perfect. Awesome. So again, here's the cover letter structure we recommend to students if you'd like to take notes to reference back to. The first paragraph should include an introduction about yourself and what role you're applying to. Now, you should also state your interests that connect to the role, of course, in the opening paragraph, and finish it with a thesis-like statement listing about 3 to 4 skills that you believe will make you a strong candidate. So like, I believe I'm a strong candidate for this role due to my skills in X, Y, and Z. And then the middle paragraph should include about 1 to 2 stars examples, kind of how I mentioned, right? What's the situation, task, action, result? So you're going to be using this in an interview, but it's a great way to implement, talking about things that you've been successful in your current roles or in previous experience. It's good to include that in the cover letter. Now, so essentially you want the reader to know not just what skills you have used, but how you've used them. And lastly, in the final paragraph, be sure to include a synthesis of why you're a strong match for the role and the company, and invite them to interview you, which could be like, feel free to reach out to me via phone number or email, or please let me know if you'd like to schedule a time to meet, anything like that, to really kind of invite them into sit down and maybe have a conversation with you. Now, one last thing, it doesn't matter where it goes, but you do want to emphasize why them. So what about the company is interesting to you? And what about them resonates with you? So write 1 to 2 sentences about them. So you could show your research by referencing like a mission statement or a vision statement. And again, it doesn't matter where this personal connection goes as long as it's there. Now, again, like I mentioned, I review a lot of cover letters. So I love to see when students who are applying have done their research. It really does make them stand out in the application process. And it lets me know that they've gone out of their way to either talk to a recruiter while we're on campus or maybe done their own research on their own time.
Gina, we have a couple of
Yeah.
questions.
Okay, awesome.
So if you go back to that screen and maybe even the one before it, this first question is it okay if those 3 to 4 things, which I think are being referred to in a cover letter, are also on your resume?
When we're, oh yeah, absolutely. So you're talking about the thing probably here.
Yeah, 3 to 4 things, can they be on both documents?
Yeah, I think I'm understanding, like if we're, are we going back to this?
Well, okay, so the question
I don't know if
is,
they want to clarify.
Yeah, is it okay if those 3 to 4 things, which I think are part of what you have in the structure of your cover letter,
Here.
can those things also be on the resume?
Oh, yeah. So like I mentioned, this is like what you want to have on the resume. So make sure that it aligns very similar to the resume. So at the top, make sure you have the address, the phone number, and all of that. So, and then like we mentioned, you want to add some of the things that you've accomplished in your previous like roles or experience. You want to add that into the cover letter. Now, it's important to keep it, like I said, pretty briefly, because this is just kind of an entry like to an interview. You don't want to give everything away, but you definitely want to give your best accomplishments in the cover letter. So something to catch their attention, but maybe don't tell all. Leave that for the interview. And then you, Diane, you said there was another question.
Yeah, so I want to clarify with Vivian. She says, no, I meant the 3 to 4 things that make you a good match and the body paragraph for the cover letter. Does that make more sense?
She said,
yeah, no, I meant
the 3 or 4 things that make you a good match and the body paragraph for the cover letter. Okay, so I think we're talking about here. Yeah, so
sorry for the confusion.
No, that's okay. So I mean, when it comes to talking about like why you're a good match, you want to keep that to the cover letter. And of course, like we talked about, using that formula to talk about the things you've accomplished, that use those that structure for the resume, but then elaborate a little bit more on it in the cover letter. So you can use that as well. And I know some students like to add kind of that objection at the top of a resume that's like a brief introduction that maybe can show some of the skills, some things that you're interested in, the reason why you're applying to that specific company. You can always add that to the top of the resume. So not sure if that kind of answers the question. So sorry.
Well, Vivian, she's raised her hand, so maybe she can do some clarifying.
I was just like asking because you said that you shouldn't put things from the cover letter on your resume, but then you said that you should put 3 to 4 things that indicate that you're a good match in your like middle paragraphs. So I'm wondering, like, are you not allowed to mention things that are on your resume in those middle paragraphs? That was more what my question was.
Gotcha. Well, you can. It's just you don't want to give away everything. Like it's to add more to the resume as opposed to just kind of copying it. So maybe if you are going to put something that's on the resume in those middle paragraphs, just elaborate a little bit better, like using that STAR method. So making sure that you talk about the situation, task, action, and result. So again, it's just more like elaborating if you did want to use that.
And there is one more question on this, and it's if I'm cold sending through LinkedIn, do hiring managers still like this structure, or is it too long and will they ignore me?
I think it's great. I think it's obviously you want to keep it maybe a little bit more concise and not write like a whole cover letter or send a long message, but something that's gonna like a quick I would say maybe like an elevator pitch is kind of what you want to send, right? What's your name? When are you graduating? What school are you going to? What are you interested in? And what a couple of things that maybe you've done that aligns with the company. So keep it kind of, I would say maybe to like 4 sentences.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course. All right. Let's see. I think this is where I left off, right? Okay. So here's another example of a cover letter. So using bullet points. So this allows you to really focus on like a couple of skills and provide some sentences about how you've showcase those skills and why these skills make you a good candidate for the position. So this is kind of what we were talking about using that STAR method. So if you guys want to take a look and kind of go through these, read them and see how they utilize the STAR method, this is actually really important. So you can structure it this way. I know Vivian, you were kind of asking about kind of implementing those into the cover letter. I think this is a perfect example to see how we do that. All right. So to wrap up our time together, we'll play a little game as a group. So for this game, we'll be acting as hiring recruiters and have 6 seconds to judge a series of 6 resumes. We have to be quick, but now we have content that we'll quickly scan for and have resume writing knowledge in mind to do so. So shout out the answers of yes or no if you guys think that the resume should be selected for an interview. And yeah, let me know. And you can, if you want to mute yourself or if you want to put it in the chat, by all means, everyone take a look. What do we think here? So Finley, first year. What kind of stands out here to you all? Right. Do we think this is a good resume? Anyone want to share?
We have a yes.
Yes.
Not a lot of metrics. Somebody says we have not a lot of metrics.
Yeah, I agree. Okay.
No, wrong major.
Okay, love that. You picked up on the major. Awesome. Yeah, so I think you're right? We're maybe not the right major for the position, right? We asked for kinesiology. So this is a major in psychology. Not enough metrics, you're right. There's a couple maybe here under campus involvement, but the overall, the work experience and doesn't really align with the job posting. So maybe they can highlight different kinds of work experience that will align a little bit closer to that job posting. All right. Let's see if anyone else shared.
We have another no.
Another no. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, you guys are harsh, right? All right, let's move on to the next one. All right, what about this here? Do we think this is going to pass the ATS system? What are we thinking?
We got a no, no,
No.
no,
No.
no.
Yeah. Right. The
No.
structure too, we want to keep it pretty simple with the structure. This is great if you're dropping it off somewhere, maybe to someone at the career fair, maybe like handing a physical resume, but this is definitely not going to pass that ATS system. It's a little bit difficult to read. There's kind of a lot going on, the experience, there's just not much here. The volunteer work, I mean, it says local animal shelter, but there's no description of what they did there. So you're right. This is a pass. All right. All right. What do we think here? Is Jane getting the job? Let's see.
Yep.
Kaylee says yes. Seeking to teach students, yes. Okay, the structure, I like the structure here. But did anyone notice the major? Technology, engineering, didn't show results. Okay. There's a few down here, but I think they can elaborate a little bit more, right? So, all right. I do like they stated some honors and activities. So this is a pretty decent resume, but maybe not for the specific job that we were looking for, right? So I would say this one's in between. Oh, I got ahead of myself. Here we go. Unrelated question, but summary abstract. Oh, okay. So Alexander asked if do hiring managers like when there's a summary / abstract portion of the resume? Yeah, I absolutely do. Again, but you want to make sure you tailor it to the company that you're applying to. So this is going to be really important. So if you are going to be doing this, make sure that you do change it for every application, or at least keep it a little bit more generalized if you don't have time to do all of that. But the more personalized that it is, the better it is to stand out, if that makes sense. All right. Of course. Okay, what about Patrick? What do you think about Patrick? Is he getting the job? Oh, you guys are quick. So many no's. Yeah, right. The thing, now I do want to ask why. What's going on here? Right? Anyone have feedback here? I think the structure of it, right? I think the picture is a little bit could probably be a little bit smaller, maybe. There's not much. Yeah, the complete structure is wrong. Yep, short responses, all of that. Completely agree. So this is definitely more for looks, I would say. So he's going in chronological order and it's too hard to follow 100%. And there's not much in there. I don't know what Patrick has done, what experience he really has. It's hard to read as well. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's move on to the next. Sorry, Patrick. All right, let's take a look here. What do we think? Bachelor's in Environmental Studies, relevant experience. All right. What do we got? No. Okay. So we get one no. I mean, I kind of like this one. Let's see. We got Bachelor's of Science. Okay, Catherine says yes. I love how the dates are structured. There's relevant experience. So there's a category under, I could see that. Yeah, Zen says maybe no results. Yeah, we can probably, correct. Yeah, so we can probably be a little bit more specific and using that formula that we talked about earlier and, sharing the results. So I do agree there. I do like here that we have the relevant experience. And it was kind of broken down in different categories. So I like that. So this one can go both ways. All right. All right. What about Sheldon? What do you think about Sheldon here? It's a little hard to the eye, right? But let's see, education, skills. Zen says no. Okay. Yeah, I agree, right? Maybe I like keep the structure pretty clean, like how we shared. I would say probably the best one we've seen so far would be our last one. Oh, I think this one, right? What does everyone think? Do we all agree? The structure was a little bit better, the relevant experience. We have skills in there. Let's see. Yeah, the objective. I think this one is probably the best one. So you guys want to keep it pretty simple with the structure. So thank you everyone for participating in the chat. Awesome. We'll move on from Sheldon. All right, so let's get into this here. So perfect. So continue to utilize the career services, everyone, as a resource for your job search process. They definitely offer a variety of virtual services, including document review, career peer advising, career path advising, more virtual workshops, and some recruiting events. So here's some information about the Career Center. And yeah, does anyone have any questions? We do have some time for a quick Q&A. So again, like I mentioned, my name is Gina. I'm the Talent Acquisition Manager at Enterprise Mobility. So I did leave my QR code here in my email if anyone wanted to connect. I do a lot of workshops on several campuses as well, and always looking to help any students while they're transitioning to maybe a full-time career. We are always hiring for our management trainee program, and we also have summer internships or fall and spring where we teach you how to run your own business. We'll teach you about financial statements, marketing, overall like the operations of running your own location, your own branch essentially. So, and we have different departments you can kind of go into, but Enterprise Mobility, we're known for our promote from within culture. So we definitely, we eliminate that external competition as you kind of work to progress in your career with us. So that's a little bit about that. But if you want to connect, like I said, this is my QR code if you want to fill that out. But we do have some time for some questions if anyone has any.
You've got two in the chat. Do you want to read them or do you want me to read them?
If you can read them, I'm like trying to, oh, yeah. There we go. I found them. Okay. So Vanessa, what if we don't have relevant experience that aligns with the job posting? That's a great question. So you definitely want to do a little bit of your research. So if you don't have experience in the specific job posting, maybe think about some community service work you've done, any volunteer work. If for example, for us, we look for somebody who has sales, customer service, or leadership experience. So, see if maybe they require multiple and see if you can align with at least one of the, maybe sales or customer service. And on top of that, you can always join some volunteer events and, work on getting some experience if you really are trying to become competitive in whatever work that you're looking to get into. I think it's important to showcase that at least you're kind of, taking some steps to learn a little bit more, and so that your experience can align with the job. But like I said, look into their values, see if something there aligns with what you've done before, right? For us, we're really big on giving back to our communities. So we're always doing some volunteer work, community service work to give back to our neighborhoods. So that said, if maybe I didn't have all the sales experience, but I've given back to my communities by doing some sort of, work on campus or giving back in any different ways, and maybe I can add that to my experience and my resume and kind of use that to build on trying to sell myself in an interview. So there's different ways that you can kind of put that experience. And also don't forget, you can also include classroom projects. I know that's a great way to show leadership, and I love to see that in an interview. It shows that you've taken initiative when you lead a project on, and maybe in one of your classes. So, think a little bit deeper and try to get creative with it. There's no problem with that. And where can I find the internship opportunities? So Emily, that's a great question. So if you want to scan my QR code, make sure you fill it out. I'll send you some information right after this. I'm currently hiring for my summer interns right now. And I also have, like I said, for the fall or for the spring, we do just require that you are in your senior year or going into your senior year. So summer would be a perfect fit if you're graduating like next year. And our internships can be anywhere. So if you are going to be going home, if maybe Santa Barbara is not home for you and you're going to be going somewhere else, say like Orange County, we have locations everywhere and we're always recruiting for that. And if you are going to be graduating soon, I'm already interviewing those June grads, so May or June grads. So you can also submit an application. I'm more than happy to chat about any other opportunities or any other questions you may have. Or if anyone just wants to chat about, get some insight on maybe their resume, I can definitely help you one-on-one, like totally okay to set something up with you.
That's really nice of you, Gina. Thank you.
Yeah,
Gosh.
of course.
Any more questions, UCSB students?
Yeah, I had one. Are we allowed to list specific classes as experience? For example, like if I want to apply to a chem lab organization position, and I took some chem labs, am I allowed to list like chem lab 1B as an experience?
Absolutely. Yeah, you can do like relevant coursework and list that under, and just make sure you give a couple of bullet points on what you've learned in that class, what you were able to accomplish, something that you were able to do, kind of using that formula we talked about earlier. So absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. Any other questions? I hope everyone got some great information out of this. Let's see. Are there any internship opportunities for current first years? So we mainly look for seniors, at least for our internship program. But if you want to stay connected, I always send out, and I stay connected with everyone I meet on campus. So if I don't send you any information now that maybe something's not available now, I will always reach back out as soon as it becomes available to you. How do we, yeah, so if you want to set up some one-on-one like resume help just directly from me, you can just send me an email. And again, I'll be sending you some information if you just scan the QR code and make sure you put in your info so I know where, how to reach you. That would be great too. But you can always send me an email. I'm also on LinkedIn with just my first and last name. So Gina Zelaya.